the Kangaroos coach, Kevin Walters, to announce the Kangaroo squad.
Thanks, Peter. Yeah, look, with great respect and appreciation for my role this morning to announce the 2025 Kangaroos for the tour to England. And I'll just read them through in alphabetical order. Obviously, we're joined here by our captain, Isaiah, which is great to see you here this morning, mate. Okay, so here we go. Blake Brayley, Cronulla Sutherland Sharks. Patrick Carrigan, Brisbane Broncos. Nathan Cleary, Penrith Panthers. Xavier Coates, Melbourne Storm. Lindsay Collins, Sydney Roosters. Ruben Cotter, North Queensland Cowboys. Angus Crichton, Sydney Roosters. Tom Dearden, North Queensland Cowboys. Dylan Edwards, Penrith Panthers. Tino Fasua-Malawi, Gold Coast Titans. Harry Grant, Melbourne Storm. Keon Kolomatangi, South Sydney Rabbitohs. Zach Lomax, Parramatta Eels. Mitchell Moses, Parramatta Eels. Cameron Munster, Melbourne Storm. Mark Nawanga-Nitawase, Sydney Roosters. Jacob Preston, Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. Gurmit Shibasaki, Brisbane Broncos. Lindsay Smith, Penrith Panthers. Katoni Stags, Brisbane Broncos. Ethan Strange, Canberra Raiders. Reece Walsh, Brisbane Broncos. Isaiah Yeo and captain, Penrith Panthers, and Hudson Young from the Canberra Raiders. So it's a very strong squad, as you can see, and one that's going to represent Australia extremely well on the next tour.
So we'll just take questions now for Isaiah or Kevin or myself. Any questions? Especially for Isaiah, because he's come a long way to be here this morning.
I don't feel any pressure, no. I can sit here and listen.
What do you think, mate? You like the squad?
Yeah, no, it's outstanding, I think. I think every player's been rewarded and on their form for the season, so I think everyone's earned their position in it. And yeah, what a wonderful position to be in. Obviously, going over to England, Ashes for the first time, and it was over 20 years. And yeah, it's a wonderful series to be a part of, and yeah, I know they'd all be very excited for it.
Kevin, what's it like? How difficult of a job is this?
Yeah, very difficult, particularly leaving players out. We could have taken 30 players. I asked Peter.
He wanted to take 40, but we said
the budget didn't allow. But you know, a couple of guys that I feel for, particularly Matt Burton, was playing for Australia certainly in last year's series. But there was, some guys this year that really jumped out of the ground, particularly through the Origin period, and then also in through the finals. So we want to reward loyalty, but also reward good form, and this team has been picked on that form. So, and there's a couple of, I think there's 7 guys, on debut for the Kangaroos, which is just shows you, the depth that we have in the Kangaroo squad, and it's great to see some of these young guys, getting their opportunity at the highest level. Because for mine, and it always has been, playing for the Kangaroos is the ultimate in the game. So it's great to see some of these guys get their opportunity.
One of those guys is Gurmit Shibasaki.
Yeah.
He talks about his journey. I don't think people had him in the Broncos team at the start of the season.
No. Well,
Origin debut and now the Roosters.
I think he started as a train and trial back in November at the Broncos. He's had one crack at it, at the NRL, and sort of lost his way a little bit, but he's got second chance. And he's made the most of it. We saw him, play outstanding football in the State of Origin series, and then this run for the Broncos in the last, 6 weeks. He's been one of their go-to players. And last night, picked up 2 tries in the grand final. He had a really strong game. So he's virtually forced his way, into the squad.
Heavy did last night seal that for you, or?
Yeah, well, he's been on the radar of all the selectors, obviously. Those guys, as tradition through this period when there's a Kangaroo side being announced, the final series is always taken into consideration, as is the State of Origin series and what happens in there. But also, more importantly, it's a big pressure games, particularly now with I think the final series we've seen this year is probably the most exciting and series that we've seen in a long time. And these guys that have forced their way through great form, in the series.
You've got some absolute superstars in that team in terms of the playmakers, but there's no lead-up games. How are you going to work out the team for game 1?
Oh, well, that'll be through our training, and I'll obviously speak to the leaders of the team as well and the selectors once we hit the shores in England, and there will be some tough calls to be made for the 17 or the 18 that will play in the first test at Wembley. But for now, everyone, I'd be more than happy to obviously play any one of those players. We've got good flexibility among the squad as well, so that's important when you're overseas and touring.
Does that suggest that if you don't get the result or not having the performance obviously game one, then there's pressure on, even on Nathan Cleary.
Well, there's pressure on everyone in the team. You know, we've got good depth in all positions, from middle forwards, edges, fullbacks, wingers. So you know, that's typical of the Australian side. Though we've got great depth in our country from a rugby league perspective, and the team and the squad reflects that.
Seven demi-finals. How much? And obviously you look to win the Ashes, but also as a World Cup next year. Do you want to put yourself in next year's World Cup for those demi-finals?
No, my objective and my focus is these next 3 games. So next year is next year. If we can, when we get this right here, next year will look after itself.
Gary, that's not getting there. Thanks, Gary. It's how impressive they've been consistent.
Yeah, well, I've been impressed with all of these players that have been named. Their club form's been great. Their Origin form has been great. Katoni didn't play Origin this year, but I think everyone can see, you know, Katoni's form, you know, in the last 6 or 7 weeks has been outstanding. He's really matured in the last couple of years into be, you know, a top-class footballer, and he gets his opportunity once again for Australia to play in the Ashes.
So you look forward to being Chris Walsh as captain?
Yeah, I think just going off his performance last night, but not just last night, I just feel like he's probably been the form player of the competition over the last couple of months, hasn't he? So it's been outstanding, and then you don't want to single out one person for why they won the grand final, but Christ, he did a hell of a job there last night, both sides of the ball. We obviously understand how good he is attacking-wise, but some of the defensive plays and defensive decisions he came up with last night, he was outstanding, and it's probably capped off, just a wonderful 2-3 months for him, and you know, he's a Clive Churchillist, premiership player for the Broncos, so yeah, he's incredible.
Isaiah, you're going to be captaining some potentially young guys on debut at Wembley. I mean, I can't really imagine what that expression would be like. What were your advice for me to know?
Well, just enjoy it. It's not every day you get to put a Kangaroos jersey on, so I guess speaking for myself, to be able to play on that surface in this environment, this arena, there's nothing more exciting, I don't think. It's playing for the Kangaroos is the highest honour you can have. You're representing your country, but yeah, to be able to do it over there in such a historic series and historic place to play, it's you enjoy it. It's you've worked very hard to get here for sure, but ultimately there's a pressure and expectation on Australia, and then that's winning, and that's happened from our history and the success and the people who have come before us. But that's what we're going over there for. It's going to be a hell of a series, but yeah, we're looking forward to it for sure.
Thank you. There's obviously been a bit of talk around the future of a couple of blokes in that team, Mark and Zach Lomax and Rodney Union. Did you have any issue picking those guys? Was that a concern at all?
No concern. We've got the full support of the Commission on the selection of the side. So, and as I said earlier, Reedy, we're focusing on these three tests, and what happens next year or in 2 years' time is out of our control and out of my control. What we can control is the selection of this team in the next for the next Ashes series.
On that note, David, is there any fear about Zach Lomax's situation, for example, becoming a distraction while the series is on?
I wouldn't have thought so. Having spoken to Zach himself, he's certainly got a good mindset around the tour, and he's been training extremely hard and focusing on the tour to get himself, fit and ready for selection.
Can I follow up? Did you speak to him just to make sure his mind was in the right place?
Yeah, I've had several conversations with him, so he's right to go.
Was that, as I said, just to make sure he was in the right frame on the tour?
Yeah, I didn't talk about the rugby stuff at all. It's more focused on the Kangaroos and making sure that he's fit and ready to go, because we've all seen what he can do on the field. We need for him to produce that form at Wembley and then on from there.
Peter, is it a concern for you? Like, obviously this stuff's bubbling away. I know you're saying you're not concerned about R36 particularly, but it's a storyline, right? And obviously Zach on that tour.
Look, any competition that comes out of a cornflakes box, I'm not really concerned about, because that's what it is. It's a complete unprofessional. They've got no business plan. Any player that goes is really risking their career. They only have to look at Salford this year in Super League. That was a similar situation. The players didn't get paid. So, look, as I said, it's a competition out of a cornflakes box. I'm not going to be concerned about it.
Kevin, is Bruce Walsh getting first crack at number 1 after what he did last night?
Oh, well, that'll be a discussion I have, with the selectors and also the senior players. We've got 2 great fullbacks, 2 great options. I'm so lucky as being the coach of the Kangaroos to have such quality players, and it starts with our number 1. So, yeah, that's not something that's concerning me at the moment. We've got a really strong squad, and we'll make that decision when we have to.
I've got to ask you, Billy not being able to play as well, was it like?
Yeah, look, yeah, obviously it was the Broncos obviously played a lot there and coached a lot there, so it's a club that I hold dear to my heart. It was great to see them have a win last night. Was coming, just that this bloke 2 doors down, he ruined the party in 23, but we just had to wait a year or two to get the party started. I'm sure that they are enjoying themselves, and rightly so. There was a great performance from them, and hats off to everyone at the club.
To be caught up like that, the trophy at the end, did that make you a bit emotional?
Yeah, bit emotional. Bill's had a great year. Obviously, a little bit biased. Not biased, but Bill's had a great season. I was really happy to see him get involved in some way, because he really did have a great year and really helped the Broncos get to where they were. I was really happy that his last game against the Raiders was one that they won, and he did all he could to get them through to the next week and then into the final.
Yeah, there's been a lot of focus on players going to play for others nations. Can I ask, what does it say about the Australian jersey that Tino wants to stay, and then Keon and Tony have gone to play for Australia?
Yeah, well, obviously the Australian Kangaroos are deep in heritage, and those guys feel a connection with the Kangaroos jersey, and it'll be my job and Isaiah's and all the team to make sure that we get the best out of our players, and they're playing for the jersey themselves and their teammates. And it's great that Tino has committed, Katoni as well, and Keon, 3 of our great players in this side, so they'll make a really strong contribution to the success of the series.
We should also mention that Harry Grant's the vice captain.
Oh yeah, Harry's the vice captain.
Isaiah up.
Isaiah, there has been a lot of focus on players playing for other nations, but you look at that list of names, what you're going to captain, what does that say about the strength of the Kangaroos, and I suppose, what England, the challenge in England?
Yeah, well, you just touched on it, the strength of the players in this jersey. Like we just touched on there with the 3 boys committing to Australia, where they obviously could have gone to the Pacific Nations, but it just sort of shows how much the jersey means to them, how much representing Australia means to them, and their families as well. So it's we've already touched on it. It's an extremely strong squad, and it's going to have to be to go over there against an England side I feel like they've probably been building towards something like this, obviously off the back of the disappointment in the World Cup, and then they've had a series against Tonga and Samoa. They've probably been crying out for this, and the game over there has probably been crying out for it as well. So it's going to be a hell of a series with an extremely strong squad, but ultimately it's all about what you put out in the field. So we're looking forward to the challenge there, and very excited by it.
Yeah, I've spoken to all 3 players, obviously, and certainly in Katoni's case and Tino's, they've got unfinished business in the Australian jersey, and they get an opportunity now to right a few wrongs. And for Keon, he grew up dreaming of playing for Australia. So we're very grateful as the Australian Kangaroos coach that he's committed to the Australian team. He'll be a great asset for us over in England.
Kevin, it's not just a long time since the last Ashes series, it's a long time since the team's just played against England. I don't think anyone in the squad has.
Yeah.
You have so much experience doing that. What's unique about those contests, and how do you communicate that to the players?
Well, I think it's very exciting for our players to get the opportunity. I mean, it's been 20 odd years since an Ashes tour, so we've skipped a generation, unfortunately. But now it's time, to get back to work, and these guys get the opportunity, particularly at the stadiums where we're playing. I love telling stories as a coach, and I'll transfer those stories on for the next generation. But really, it's about this group now and forming their own history. When we head over there, as I say, it's a wonderful opportunity for them to really dig into the Kangaroos and the Australian jersey, and get out there and have a good crack for Australia.
All right, we might advance to the Jillaroos. Thank you.